Okay, guys, so we're lucky today. We have Angelo Tsarouchas with us. He's a native from Montreal, Canada. He's a worldwide comedian, also a movie actor, and now he lives in Los Angeles, United States. He took the time to be with us today to the show with our friends Lars Callieou. So thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today.
Good afternoon, good morning, Carl. Good, Lars. I'm going to say something as a Montrealer.
Go ahead.
Growing up in Park X, I used to speak more French, right? I speak a lot of French, but now I'm in LA, and I mean, I'm even forgetting how to speak Greek. But everybody in my family speaks French, so I don't want you to think. And you see behind me, I'm a Habs fan.
Yep.
You can see here, I Habs hat.
There you go. That's awesome. That's good. You
and I'm gonna go one better, even one better.
Oh, wow. Expo Montreal.
The Expo of
Montreal.
That's
so
awesome.
You can't get it. You look at this. How much? I look at Carey Price.
Oh my God!
I even have a Carey Price here.
Oh, so that's
Montreal,
awesome.
Montreal is around me, guys.
Yeah.
Montreal is around me all the time. I just want you to know.
You bring Montreal to LA, my friend.
All the time. Now, if you guys could send me a smoked meat sandwich and some poutine. My daughter, I've been trying to play Minecraft. I get motion sickness.
Oh, seriously?
And my daughter plays Minecraft. She loves it. So she plays Minecraft. And she plays another game called Roblox.
Yeah.
But there's a Roblox, but she loves Minecraft. It's amazing games that people are playing. It's interesting when people hear, especially in Los Angeles, when you tell them you're from Montreal, and they always ask me, they're always like, "Oh, you're from Montreal? Do you speak French?" And I said, yeah, because, it's mandatory. I said in Canada, everybody has to speak French. But I said in Canada, it's mandatory. Everybody has to speak French. And I said, everything we say in English, we have to repeat it in French. Is what I told the guy in all of Canada.
Awesome.
And his friend was sitting there, and he goes, "He's not lying. I flew on Air Canada. It's true." So we laugh at that, guys, because as Canadians, as Quebecers, we know the two languages, but Americans don't know that, right? So they don't get the joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we laugh in Canada because it's like it's a choice, right? So,
that's correct. That's funny, Angelo, that you talk about smoked meat, because the first time I met you, Angelo, and you probably don't remember, and I don't blame you for it. That was in 2003, 2004, I believe. That was during Just for Laugh Festival, and you were outside of a hotel, and one of my friends, a big Italian guy, and right away he saw you. And he recognized you. He's like, "Oh, Angelo." And then you start talking to him, and you guys start exchanging, And the whole time, I thought you were an actor from The Sopranos.
Right, yeah.
So I was mixing you with Steve Schirripa.
Steve Schirripa, I got mixed up for him a lot.
But that's the funniest thing. The first thing you said to my friend, okay, you guys talk about like 10 minutes, just messing around. And the first thing you said to us is like, "Well, okay, guys, let's go have a smoked meat at Schwartz." That was your first sentence you said to us at this time.
Well, that's what I want to do when I go to Montreal.
That's right. But
I remember, Carl, was that at the Delta Hotel?
That was at the Delta Hotel. There was a big Italian guy. His name is Juan Carmen Guadagno. John
Guadagno. I think I remember him.
I think.
And it's funny because what's funny about that, Carl, is that, in Montreal, going to the festival, one year, remember, and I've worked with both of them, Vinny Pastore, Big Pussy, and Steve Schirripa were there.
Nice.
So I was there at the same time in Montreal. So there was a BBC reporter that started interviewing me from BBC.
Oh,
but I thought they were interviewing me for my show.
That's right.
And then this girl was all, we loved your show. We love your show. I said, thanks. I'm thinking just for laughs, just pour rire.
Yeah.
We love your show and everything else. And then at one point she says to me, do you think at some point, your character's going to get killed in the show? And I'm like,
Nice.
my character, and it was that moment, where I looked at her like, what show are we talking about here? You mean my stand-up show? Because I've done a lot of television also, but I'm not recurring. Oh, on The Sopranos. I said, no. You think I'm Steve Sherpa? And I turned it around. She goes, you're not? I said, no. I said, I'm better looking than him.
There you go.
I made a joke because she was embarrassed, and I think the producer and this has happened to me a few times.
For sure.
I've been mistaken for Steve Sherpa. Another time, I was on an Air Canada flight from LA to Toronto, and the flight attendants kept coming up to me. Nice to have you on the flight. If there's anything we can do for you, oh, thanks. It's like then the girl, the one flight attendant came up. She goes, I just want to let you know that you've gotten me through some hard times in my life. And I'm a huge fan of yours. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Now, I figure I'm going to Canada. They've seen me on maybe Showtime or CBC or just, But then the best one was the gay flight attendant who came up to me and said, Bad Out of Hell was your best album ever.
Oh,
they thought I was Meatloaf. They thought I was Meatloaf. And I go, what? Bad Out of Hell is my best album ever. Hold on, you think I'm Meatloaf? Are you not Meatloaf? No, I eat meatloaf. But I'm not Meatloaf. I thought, again, you see, when you're mistaken for somebody else, right, guys? I thought it was the comedy they saw on my show.
Yeah.
So I'm going on, people have told me, look, I was in a bad mood. When you do something and people tell you, you made me feel good. It's always nice to hear that. But when I've been mistaken for a mobster, I've been mistaken for a singer. One time a guy thought on the airplane I was John Goodman.
Oh, there you go.
And he goes, how's it working with Roseanne Barr? And she's a comic I work with. I go, she's a bitch. And the guy goes, really? I mean, you worked with her on the show all those years ago. No. I did stand up with her. I worked with her as a stand up. And then I was on Last Comic Standing. Oh, the guy goes, I thought you were John Goodman.
Oh my God!
Wow,
that's I don't think you look like John Goodman, but I can.
No, but the same way people don't recognize me, I never recognize celebrities.
Yeah.
So I don't, because once I was on the airplane going to South Africa, I thought it was Kevin Federline. Remember K-Fed?
Oh yeah.
Married to Britney Spears.
Yeah, Britney Spears.
It wasn't. It was Vanilla Ice.
His name is Rob.
Hilarious.
Rob Van Winkle, right? And then there's Lars Callieou. I love your show, by the way, Callieou. Great, my kids love your show. But the thing is, no, that happened to me. And then another flight once, I was coming from Vancouver to LA, and this couple, Minka Kelly, that really beautiful actress model, was making out with who I thought was the guy from X-Men.
Oh.
From the X-Men, the guy that played the Torch. There's one guy's Canadian actor. Okay. And they're making out, and I'm sitting behind them. So when we landed in Los Angeles, I didn't want to bother you guys because you were making out, but I told them we have a friend who's a writer from Toronto who I'd met with him. It was Sean Ashton.
Okay.
Canadian actor.
Okay.
So it's really, Sean, I met you before, and the guy goes, oh, no, wrong superhero. He goes, I'm Chris Evans. I'm Captain America.
No way.
So I got the wrong super. So I'm just as stupid. And I go, That's awesome. All you superheroes look the same, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just a stunt. Like, people think I'm something, but that's what happens. You don't if you really, when you meet celebrities or people in real life, it's hard to.
Yeah. Especially when you get nervous and all that. I mix a few celebrities to French one and English one. It happened quite often, actually. I mixed Samuel L. Jackson with another guy that was doing Gone in 60 Seconds. They really look alike. And that was actually in a bar in Montreal. And same thing, the guy told me to fuck off, basically. He's like, you think all black people look the same? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
you know?
I thought.
So, it happened, definitely.
You're the guy, you're noir. Why not? But that happens. No, but and I'm the worst person because you work with all these people, And I was, it's funny because I usually, last time I saw Lars, we were in Australia.
Oh yeah,
it was Edmonton.
Yeah,
Hubcap. I saw you.
Yeah,
but I see Lars. I never see Lars in Canada. I see him.
Oh, is that right?
In England or Australia, we're hanging out having cigars.
LA. Yeah. I want to tell the story.
Oh, you go right ahead, buddy.
So I see Angelo in the program at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And I mean, I started comedy 17 years ago. I've been watching him my entire career. So, and we've worked together a bunch of times as he's come through, and I've, crossed. But the first time I got to see him in Australia was probably 4 years ago. And I decided, I've got a break that I can catch his show on one of the days. And so I'm not going to tell him I'm there. I'm just going to go watch the show. Because if people haven't seen his work, he's a really funny person. But so I'm going to go watch the show because I want to watch the show.
Thanks, brother. Sorry.
So he sells out this theater at the Greek Center in Melbourne for like his entire run, sold out. And when I get there, they're like, you'll have to stand in the back. But I have an artist pass. So they're like, if you're okay with standing in the back, you can stand in the back. So not having seen his show in Australia and not having realized that there's this massive Greek population in Australia, a whole bunch of Greeks and Italians immigrated there during the wars. So I'm watching Angelo for 60 minutes do one of the most magical things I've ever seen in comedy. He was doing his setups in English, and then I would say over half of his punchlines were in Greek. Yeah. And people were falling off their chairs. People were crying. I'm not kidding. I've never seen a show where people were like falling out of their chairs. That's how hard they were laughing. And I watched 60 Minutes, this magical, I'm like mesmerized because he's like, he does the whole setup in English and then punchline in Greek and setup in English and punchline in Greek. And I mean, I definitely missed over half. I'm like, what's happening right now? It was, so then after the show, he signs autographs and takes pictures. So I get in line, and I always try and give people context where they might know me from. Angelo is amazing, by the way.
Fuck yeah.
So I always go, Lars from Edmonton, because then they can go, but I walk up and I didn't even have to do that. I was like, normally, hey, I'm Lars from Edmonton, because it's weird if you're in Melbourne, in the greeting line after a show, you're like, I didn't have to do that. And then he has a lineup around the block for people who want to get his DVD and sign, get autograph and get a picture. And he's like, oh my goodness. So he starts chatting with me and I'm like, no, we'll catch up later. And then all these people are waiting. He's like, So then I was like, we went up for wine at the rooftop bar at this place. It was really nice.
Molina was really nice too, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So every time somebody would come up and try and get a picture and say, oh, this is my friend Lars from Edmonton. He's very funny. And I'm like, the amount of grace and kindness that Angelo has is, dwarfed only by how funny he is. And like, he is as nice as he is funny, and he is wicked funny. It was so fun to watch, like just standing there, not realizing what was going on. I'm like, what's happening?
That is awesome.
Yeah, Australia is great. It's fun there, isn't it? Lars, this year was, a bigger year. I sold almost 30,000 tickets.
Oh my God.
This year for Australia. It was going to be our best year yet. And this fucking COVID.
Yeah.
I was there. So we, Angelo and I do Hubcap together at the Comedy Festival in Moncton. And then, so we were both
storm and everything.
Yeah.
We got stuck at the airport.
Oh, fuck.
We went from Australia to
Yeah. So we were talking about that he's touring Australia now, and these people that have put him on tour because he's such a draw over there. So I play little clubs, but we were going to be there at the same time again this year. And his tours. Yeah. And then, so I went to Australia. I was there for 11 days. And then, I mean, it was like,
oh, were you there, Lars? Did you go?
I was there. Yeah.
Oh,
I was,
shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you went to, yeah, because I was we were getting ready to go. And then somebody said, why didn't you go to Australia? I go, I'll tell you why. They canceled the flights from LA. So I was supposed to fly on Qantas, I think, or American Airlines. Can't remember. They actually canceled the flights. So even if I wanted to go to Australia, I couldn't go because those. And of course, we were disappointed because we were so looking forward to. I go every 2 years,
and so it's all. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's all because of the COVID that everything's been canceled.
Yes.
Is that what you guys talking about?
Yes.
I was really curious, Angelo, since you're in the United States and everything. I was really curious about how's everybody dealing with the COVID in terms of the artists, like the comedian like you. Like, because I saw you did some full room. You did some full room just recently. Did you? I saw that passing.
No, it may have been an older clip. The one that you saw was the Carl. The last show we did was March 1st.
Oh, so it's been that long.
And March 1st, and we did the Barnesdale Gallery Theater in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's the one you saw, and that was the last show I did. Oh, and luckily, my wife and my partner here captured it. But I got to tell you, guys, this. This COVID's it's making everybody nuts. It's making me nuts. I'm not gonna lie to you. Day to day, all the shows are canceled. Everybody's a bit on edge. I mean, knock wood, we're okay. People here, unlike Canada, guys, look, in Canada we have liberals and conservatives. We have French and English.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. We get along at some point. They're fucking crazy here, okay? Mm-hmm. Democrats, Republicans, gun control. I mean, Canada looks like a lovely little breadbasket of happiness compared to here because they're nuts and you can't have a conversation. I'll admittedly say it. My sleep patterns are off. There's no end in sight right now. I think Canada, you guys can eat in restaurants now. You've gone ahead in Montreal and in Edmonton, but here we've gone backwards. So you can't.
Oh no!
It's 108 degrees today. It's hot. I mean, the weather's nice. It's not clever conversation here.
Yeah. So that's not really great. I thought because I saw those video. You did one in Portland too. I thought that was recent video, so I was kind of happy. I said, well, at least Angelo's doing something too.
No, those are things we've done. Yeah, from before, and we shot a show last October. I done the show in Montreal at what's it called there? The Leonardo da Vinci Center in St. Leo.
Okay.
So we did with Frank Spadone, right? With Frank, and then we did the one in Toronto, Richmond Hill, and we did those, and it was fine. And we filmed that, so we're trying to get that. But like Lars was saying, going to Australia for a comic, it's such a wonderful place to do comedy. And the people are so accepting. It's like doing Montreal. You go to Montreal and you do the festival. Look what happened. I know they did the drive-in theater off the Carey. It's not the same, though, is it?
Rob Pugh had a really neat point about drive-in shows. So Rob Pugh's a comedian, originally from Edmonton, actually. But he's been all over, been everywhere. Lives in Toronto now. So he had this great post about doing a drive-in show, and I'm paraphrasing. So comedy is not, it's a dialogue in that the audience's speaking part is their laughter and reaction. And
that's a good point.
So you make an instantaneous adjustment based on what a particular audience is responding to. So you can feel if they want it a little dirtier, if they want it a little cleaner, and you can make these adjustments instantaneously based on instinct because you've performed for decades in doing this thing. With people in their cars, you don't know how you're doing with them because you can't get any feedback and any direction. So, a good comedian can change gears like that. It was, really nailed it with his, with his review of it. It's, I mean, if you've never seen live comedy, I assume most people have, but if you haven't, your dialogue isn't to talk. Shut the fuck up. But your part is to react, and a good comedian will have the response of laughter or perhaps horror or whatever it is they're going for. The reaction.
That's true. Well, I think it's well said, Lars, and even what Rob said is well said. You need the interaction. For us, we need to hear the glasses clinking and the people breathing. You know what I mean? You need that. I think Frank told me they did the one in Montreal. It was okay, he said, on the jumbo screen. But like you said, they're in their cars. So what are they honking, or I don't know what they do?
That definitely not fueling you guys as you need to be even more performant. It's like a hockey game with no audience. A lot of hockey players.
It's kind of.
Yeah, like all the players are really agreed to say that it's not the same. Like they don't have that boost of adrenaline from the public watching.
From the fans.
Yeah, from the fans. That's exactly.
Yeah, whether they're cheering for them or booing them, it's still an emotion that gets you. Even if you boo a player, it makes them. Now if they did a show out front of Schwartz's Delicatessen, me and Lars would do a show there. Even if they didn't like the show, I could care less. I'd walk in and have a sandwich.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I would do that.
I had a question for you, Angelo, and that was an important question. And I realized later, and it goes like this. So at first, I wanted to ask you what triggered you as a Greek person from Montreal, being young. What triggered you to want to become a comedian? And I realized your full name. I realized what your full name was, and it's Angelo Tsarouchas. So right there, I'm like, that might be a reason why you said, you know what, fuck it, I'll become a comedian.
You're bang on. Think about it, Carl. I mean, it's like, it's weird because traditionally, as you know, nobody in my family was in show business. But as a kid, I loved comedy, Yeah. And I love all comedy, not just, I used to listen to, old albums of Red Fox and Bill Cosby. And I used to listen to, George Carlin, and then later Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy and Jackie Mason. But then I also love the physical comedy. Like a friend of mine who I haven't seen him in years is Michel Courtemanche.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, remember Michel Courtemanche? Physical.
Physical.
And Michel could come out. I don't know if he still remember. He had a fear of performing, right? Michel had that disorder.
Absolutely.
But you used to see guys like Michel, and he didn't need to say a word.
Nope.
And his facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like he was so good at contorting his face and doing stuff. And I worked with him a few times. And
that's amazing. Super
funny guy. He did a lot of commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I know that people don't realize that, and when you look at Montreal, not just because of the festival, being the most prestigious festival in the world, which is it's so awesome to be able to ever do the festival in Montreal. But then you also have controversies. It's funny, you look at Mike Ward, with the Petit Jeremy, where he was on Rogan, and everybody, and it wasn't that Mike Ward. And I love Mike Ward. I think he's a funny guy, and I back him 100%.
Yeah,
because Mike didn't make fun of Petit Jeremy that he was going to die. He made fun of the fact that he didn't die.
Exactly.
So here is you got Celine Dion singing for Petit Jeremy, and the Pope shows up, blesses him, and they raise $500,000 for this kid, and the fucking kid doesn't die. So, as
that was a good joke.
That was funny.
That was hilarious.
And then they charged him with Quebec Human Rights Commission said what he did, and that's why the comedians came out with the tape on their mouth.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, as a comic, and I think Lars, I don't know how Lars feels about this, but I think it comes a point where I think nothing is off topic, but you as a comedian have to deal with your own circumstances.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
when Mike Ward, and it's true because Mike Ward never insulted the kid, the petite Jeremy, or the family. All he said was, the kid didn't. They did everything for him, and through comedy, it was funny. He didn't die, which was good.
But the whole thing, Angelo, that was exactly it. That was the thing is Jeremy went and sang and they were raising money and everything because they were saying that he will die and everything. And then 10 years later, he's still pulling album, which is not that great, let's be honest. And that's what he said. He said, well, all this time we've raised money and he's not dead. Like, what's the scam? And the intention is really important behind that joke. That was not towards Jeremy or anything. That was just the fact that what happened, how it happened, and everything, right?
So, isn't it so? Go ahead, Lars. Sorry, man.
So I definitely agree with everything you're saying. There's a comedian or lives in New York. I imagine he spends a bit of time in LA, but his name is Kurt Metzger.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know Kurt.
Yeah,
Metzger.
I know Kurt. I do shows with him sometimes.
Yeah, so Kurt's great, and he said something that I always quote. And I love this when it comes to, so what Angelo was saying was you're not free from consequence. Like there can be consequence. Like you can say something and there might be consequence for it. But Kurt Metzger said this, your only complaint about a joke is that you didn't find it funny. So the comedian, when we write a joke, we're not trying to offend people. We come up with original thoughts, original ideas. And what we're trying to do is make people laugh, maybe with a little shock and horror, maybe push the envelope. But if you, as a rational, logical human being of Earth, if you are aware that the comedian is attempting humor, we are attempting humor. If you go, I didn't find that funny, well, you're aware of the fact that it was meant to be in jest, in satire, in humor, in parody. If you are aware that it is satire or a joke, then your only complaint can be you didn't find it funny because you were like, oh, the guy was joking. So if he's standing on stage at a fucking comedy show, whatever you say is kind of, again, it's not. You might not be free from consequence, but at the same time, it's a joke. I didn't find it funny. Okay, here's the next joke.
Yeah, that's
exactly. No, it's Lars, you nailed it. I think the mistake people think is that, we're writing papers for a university at Pepperdine and we're being funded by some. No, we're comics. We're just, like you said, you do a joke, you don't like it, move on. And I think, and don't think what happened to Mike Ward in Montreal, it got a lot of attention in the United States because of freedom of speech, which we still have in Canada. Yeah. Or at least they tell us. But I think any entertainer, any artist, and not because it's just because what Mike's going through, we have to support Mike. Yes. Because if they set a precedent, guys, with Mike Ward, that you can make a joke that they're going to find it offensive, this completely changes the dialogue. I don't care if it's French, English, Greek, Italian, Montreal, Toronto. It's going to change the dialogue, and we all know that. Oh, and Lars is right. He said, if you don't like a joke, just let's go to the next joke. But see the irony, and this, I think they're so upset. Maybe they're embarrassed, Kurt, that he didn't die. You know what I'm saying? Like, Celine Dion, and like you say, made another album. He got all this money. So for comedians, it's like, wasn't this guy supposed to die?
That's exactly.
He's got, my third album, I'm on tour. I mean, it's almost like, so people there is definitely something for you. You can make this a movie if you think about it. Yeah, you can make a movie about this where you have a guy that's going to die that doesn't die.
Comical movie, absolutely.
I mean, there's something. I mean, I know we're dealing with death, but there's something funny about it. And that's our job as orators and comedians is to try to find the funny in that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly it. And Angelo, I would like to say something about this really quickly here. With all the taboos and all the new, we got like many different gender now, the transgender.
Yes.
homosexual, different race and all that. Comedian like you and Russell Peter, that's what I like about you guys, because you guys will not back up when it comes to talk about your own. You're going to talk, you have a lot of jokes, actually. It's about the Greeks, and then Russell Peter will tackle everyone.
With the Indians. Hey, Russell is the master of that.
And you know what? It's important to do this because you cut the taboos. Because if you don't talk about it, you create taboos, and it's when you guys walk on a eggshell all the time.
Right.
It's important to do jokes about these things, right?
Well, somebody said to me once, oh, you're Greek, are you gay? I said, we didn't invent homosexuality. We made it fashionable. So I said, the Greeks made it fashionable. I didn't say we didn't. I go, my mom's from an island called Lesbos, which is where the lesbians originated from. My dad's from Sparta. Here's the thing. What people don't realize, guys, is that when I talk about Greek culture, they go, what do you mean you're a Spartan lesbian? Where my mom's from is, I'm a Spartan lesbian. And I've had people come up to me saying, we're lesbians, we take offense. I go, hey, bitch, my mother is from Lesbos, which is the term for Lesbos is lesbian. Nice. I'm half lesbian. So it's a fact if you look it up. If you're half male, if you're male or female from Lesbos, Greece, you're lesbian. That's the term. They say Montrealer. They say Montrealer. They say, they always say, if you say I'm a Montrealer,
Edmonton,
you're from Montreal. Edmonton, I'm from Toronto. We can't win in hockey. You'd say, but no. So they looked at me and she says, "You're lying." I go, "How much do you want to bet I'm not lying?" And she could see it. And I said, the problem with people is they're using labels and they're not understanding the history or the origin of where it comes from."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So it's so funny. It's almost like, when you look at things, and it's even the same, coming from Montreal, I'm always defending Quebec to people, because when somebody asks me, what's the best part of Canada to go to, the first thing I tell them is go to Montreal and Quebec first. And the Americans love it. And they go, not because, I born and raised in Montreal, that I lived in Ottawa for years, which I was tortured. Yeah. I was tortured in Ottawa.
That bad, eh?
And then and the truth is, I lived in Toronto, and I love Toronto. Don't get me wrong, Toronto's a great city. It really is. There's lots going on in it, but it's not. And I always tell people this: it's not Montreal, and that's why. Even if you think, why does comedy work in Montreal? Look at everything that's compressed together there. In Montreal, the girls are pretty. They dress up nice. The guys go out, Saint Denis Street, Crescent, Maisonneuve, this, that, everything else. There's such a culture to it that I think, for the most part, because some people tell me, I went to Montreal, I had a hard time because I wasn't speaking French. I go, you know what? If you're a dick, if you go into a Tim Hortons or a Dépanneur in Montreal and you start talking down to somebody because they're French, they're going to talk to you like crap.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly
I've never once have I had an altercation with somebody in Quebec. Why? Bonjour, ça va, très bien. Okay. I said, look, my friend, pas problème, don't worry about it. Like, people can sense assholes, right?
Yeah,
if you're an asshole, it doesn't matter. So if you go somewhere, and I think this is what happens to a lot of people, and I think it happens in comedy, where what's happening now, Carl, is that people... We're getting handcuffed as comedians.
Yep.
Because we're like you said, we're trying to talk, like Russell talks about Indians and Italians and Portuguese and this and that. He's making light of it. I do the same thing, but what's happening now, there's trigger words. People are easily offended.
That's correct.
And I think they're easily offended. And I'm thinking, if you're easily offended, what are you doing at a comedy show?
That's exactly it. It's something that happened also in Montreal. It happened to some French comedian. Like, as you said, there's some trigger words, and sometimes they're going to use a word like they said Mongol once during a gala, and all the people that had young kids with trisomy, how do you call that? Down syndrome.
Down syndrome. Yeah,
Down
Mon
syndrome.
Girl,
They call that Mongol, right? And that comedian got just tackled by all the parents that had kids with Down syndrome, and it's like, no, that's not the intention behind that word.
No, you see,
The word means
that's-
idiots.
right? But see, Mongol. It's like growing up. I don't know about you guys. We used to use the word retard.
Yeah.
Retard. Okay, now
Same thing.
retard. When you look at the word in French, retard is like late to arrive to, right? It's late, meaning you're slow or you're thick.
Yeah.
Okay, but it depends in the era because I think I may be older than you guys, around the same age. But we would say, hey, Carl, what are you, retarded? And you go, it was never an insult, right? With friends.
No.
So I think it's happened to Russell. It's happened to me. It's happened to a few comics. So now, one woman told me that's offensive word. So she says, I go, what's a better word? She goes, special needs.
Oh, wow.
That sounds more offensive to me.
Oh,
Yeah, me
definitely.
too.
It's too deep.
I don't know how
Stay to the
Lars feels about
surface.
special. Are you special needs? No, I go, that's worse than retarded.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't use. So I think what happens is that, and I'll say this, I think if you say something that comes from a point of hate, people can hear it. Mm-hmm. But people aren't listening. Like if I say something to you, you can always tell if somebody, the Greeks have a word called malaka, right? You guys have probably heard it from Greeks.
Yeah.
Now, malaka means jerk off or wanker. But if I go, Carl, malaka, where were you? You know we're friends.
Yeah.
I'm saying to you as a friend, you know? You're like, mon chum, whatever. But you can always tell when it's used in the wrong way. But now, like you said, Carl, he said one word, Mongol, right? And that's it. Shut it down.
Yeah.
We're finished. No comedy. Shut it down. You offended everybody.
Yeah.
And you're like,
That's funny because I use the word malaka all the time, and
malaka's a good
and
word.
I'm not even Greek, and I was about to ask you, like, malaka is just like bumbuclot or whatever. It's a word that you can
malaka.
that you can use and modify the word to depend of what you're saying, what situation and occasion, right? So,
Well, look, I'll tell you guys what's happening in LA. And there's a friend of mine in San Francisco. You know, Kamala Harris just got announced as vice president. Well, the name Kamala, if you scramble it, it's Malaka. So you got Kamala, and they posted it on the internet, and people are upset. And people who are Democrats, they go, hey, what are you upset about? Well, that's wrong with. I said, hold on. Her name scrambled as Malaka. Kamala Malaka. I think it's funny. Again, it's funny.
it's kind of funny.
I said, it's kind of funny. Now, I'm sure Republicans will get a bigger kick out of it. But at the same time, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a scramble on words. That's all it is.
Yeah. And so so if people realize the skill involved with doing comedy, not me particularly, I'm not blowing my own horn, I'm talking about somebody who is a master of words. If you guys go look up Angelo's work, you're going to be there's very deliberate word choices. And if you're on Twitter, I will say he's incredibly engaging and he follows almost everybody back. So if you're on Twitter, go follow him.
I tried to. Yeah, and Lars, you got to check out Lars' stuff. I love your. First of all, I know I tease you about it. You don't want nobody to know about it, Lars. But I love your show, Callieou. My kids love your show. I think you, as a kid on an animation platform, I always say it to them. But see, again, that's the thing, right? Because your name's Callieou, and the show is called Callieou, and it's a popular show. And people come, who's that guy? Oh no, he has a show. It's animated. It's all about his life.
Are killer, yeah.
Imagine if you had the residuals from that, you'd be so rich.
That's why I got dollar bills, y'all. Anyway,
there you go.
What I like about the change in vernacular is less skilled comedians will be like, what, I can't say this anymore? I'm like, well, no, but if you go back and read Mark Twain, and if you read Huckleberry Finn, there's a lot of words in there that are
N-words.
Well, exactly. So people who haven't read the book or don't know the work. So over the course of history, the allowed verbiage, the kind of like the acceptable verbiage changes. Now, I agree with what everybody here is saying is that it's often tone. What's the so when when Angelo hangs around with his friends of every kind of descent, he's busting their balls, but there's no malice in that. There's no hate. There's I never looked at Russell as anything other than a comedian. He's just a comedian. Angelo's a comedian.
Right, yeah.
This person's a comedian. I never cared. And I mean, in Canada, I think my dad is Métis, was Métis. So I got to see racism. I got to experience people being rude to somebody because they were Aboriginal or First Nations. I saw it growing up. My dad was in residential schools. So there's still some dark history, but staying on point.
Sure there is.
So the wording has changed in what's permitted. Now, I also think that we need to make allowance for put the word in context. So if a comedian is on stage at a gala, he probably got there because he's good at this. And if there's one word that you don't agree with, I like to think that I'm smart enough to look at the intent. I want to look at, so with Mike Ward, his intent, his joke holds water. The joke holds water. There was massive benefits for this kid who had very little chance of surviving. And so it's like when Cher did her final tour. She came back and did 3 more final tours. You're like, how many times is she going to do her final tour? It's the same. The joke itself holds water. Yeah. So if you look at the joke or the word, put it in context. And then decide, okay, maybe I could write this guy a mess. I saw a guy once at a show come completely unglued because the comedian on stage was doing a joke about diabetes.
Oh,
the guy just stood up and he's like, this is fucking bullshit. Now it turns out that the guy had just lost his mother to diabetes.
Oh, right.
And so that was his trigger. He just heard that and he just went from 0 to 60 because it's something that triggered him. So whether it's abortion or whether it's a religion or whether it's, Paul Provenza has one of my favorite jokes to push the envelope. And he's like, my wife and I like to fuck with Christians. We tell them we're going to have an abortion, but it's okay because the baby's gay.
Wow.
And so Paul Provenza's joke holds water. But there's people, every show he walks people out because he's been doing comedy for 40 plus years, one of the best comedians in the world. But look at the intent. And then also, it is the comedian's responsibility a little bit to change the vernacular and update it if they need to, which go back and watch, and so the goal line is moving. And by goal line, I mean what's allowed. So it shifts over time. So to hold somebody accountable for a joke that was made 20 years ago when that line had been back there, you go, well, it's not acceptable now. The comedian probably knows that now. But I also think that it is the comedian's job to push the envelope. It is the comedian's job to make a joke about uncomfortable things. And so if the comedian isn't shedding light on something that's uncomfortable, then what are they doing? You're
not doing your job.
I fully agree.
That's funny, Angelo. Just a quick thing. When I was in Montreal, I was working for Casa Grec. The Greek restaurant?
One of my favorite. Yeah.
Exactly. So I know some of the owner there now and all that. We're really friends. But anyway, so when I was really young. I was like not even 18 yet. So anyway, they pulled a toga party and everybody was telling me the Greeks, the sauna, they invented gay basically. And they were always doing gay joke. So we did a toga party. I was the only guy that came with a toga with nothing under. I was bare naked under. I think I shocked all the Greek there. They said, okay, dude, that's a joke.
Good for you, man.
I said, I thought that's what you guys were about. But
I came ready. I came ready.
I'm ready for promotion.
You said Casa Grec. That's hilarious. Casa Grec, I love the entrecôte.
L'entrecôte, yeah.
Entrecôte is really good at the Casa Grec. Yeah, that's a good spot too, man. And you bring your own wine, and you see I can't have a conversation with somebody in Montreal without talking about food.
About food, exactly. And it's 2 for 1 on the main course. Remember that.
Okay, stop.
So, Angelo, we'll change subject here. I really want to talk. By the way, Angelo is a great actor. Okay, I saw Fred and Vinny, and I believe 100% you could be the worst roommate that anyone could have. I just want to ask you, did you change your behavior since then?
Yeah, no, I think I'm back in that same behavior now.
Oh
You know what's
my
funny?
God.
I never. That character was based on a real life guy. It was a real.
is that
It
right?
wasn't a made up character. Vinny D'Angelo, who was friends with Fred Stoller, who was he's been in every sitcom.
Yeah.
And I never did. So when I did that, when we made that film, I realized that this guy Vinny was everything I wasn't. So he was, I get up, I'm a go-getter, I like people. This guy was agoraphobe, he was the world's fattest vegetarian,
That is
chain
funny.
smoked, baseball card. So I had to be everything this guy wasn't without making it a character, So when I wasn't married, I was going up with my wife, then she's my girlfriend, and I was so into the character that when I came home, she'd say, Angelo, I wouldn't respond. Then she'd go, Vinny. And I turn around and she goes, oh my God. Because, it was, and I think what happens is that when you play Vinny moves at his own speed.
Yeah.
So he moves slow and he says he's going to do something, but he doesn't tell you when he's going to do it. So, he's one of those guys, you're going to get a job? Yeah, when? Oh, soon. That is that guy, right? So, but he never gets upset. And I realized this guy's emotionally disconnected, but he loves Fred because Fred's his friend who allows him to.
It's the yes man almost.
Yeah. It's an interesting role. But it was fun doing that film.
A quote that made me really laugh is when Vinny said, I'm not really good at walking long distance with my own legs.
With my own legs.
That's like, okay. That's a lot.
He made excuses. I can't walk long distance with my own legs. Like somebody else should pick me up.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in the movie where Fred's character is freaking out. He goes, you stress too much. I don't stress. Eat chocolate bars and relax. And I think what Vinny doesn't realize is Fred is stressing about him. And there's a lot of people like that don't, it's like the guy who says, I'm going to come and stay at your house for 2 weeks. And 8 months later, the guy's still on your couch.
Still a couch surfer.
And you're like, dude, are you leaving or are you going to stay here?
Yeah, that's a great movie. I really like that movie. Like your character, your acting was so real. That's what I said. I hope he changed behavior since then.
Since then, you think you can get better behavior.
Yeah,
and that's where you learn less is more sometimes. And funny thing, we were in Panavision Studios in Woodland Hills, and we did a scene where I lay on the couch.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of sleeping, and then the phone rings, and I wake up. Well, they were setting it up. As they were setting it up, and sometimes it takes a long time. I fell asleep.
Oh, for real?
For real.
Oh,
so I'm on the couch, so comfortable, and I was on the couch, and they're like, roll, scene, action, and then the phone's ringing, and then Steve Skrovan, the director's like, okay, the phone's ringing, and I'm supposed to wake up and grab the phone. Hey, when you wake up, out. I fell asleep.
That's hilarious.
And then they go, I think he fell asleep. So then they went, and I said, oh shit, I'm so sorry, guys. They were all laughing. She goes, is it a comfortable couch? I go, I don't know what happened. just that moment. And this is that's how relaxed I was as Vinny. And they realized it. He goes, well, that's a Vinny thing, right? Like I was so lazy and tired. I even fell asleep shooting the film.
That's amazing. Jesus, that's being in character. It's all good.
Well, that's what the director said. He goes, "You're in character. That's the guy. You better wake up. What? What's going on?" So.
Oh my God! You also played. You did some movies also with Al Pacino, Colin Farrell, Denzel Washington. I mean, how was it to work with these guys? Did you get to hang out with them? And
I did. Well, I got certain scenes with some of them. But for the most part, I would watch their work. It's the best acting school. I got to work with Colin Farrell on The Recruit. And then I got to be able to, you get to see these guys. And then when I worked with Denzel Washington and John Q, I get to see him do work. And then you get to see like Robert Duvall and Ray Liotta as a police chief. And
amazing.
I wasn't in the scene, but I would be right there watching them. So that was the best school for me. And I've been lucky to work with those guys.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you get to drink with them? Did you get to do something?
Not really. No, we would have lunch sometimes in the break. So I tried when we were doing John Q, I tried to stay away, but then Denzel Washington called me over. He goes, no, come sit with us.
Nice.
So you have to know your place. You don't just, some guys just show up, hey, let's go. No, it's, you can't do that.
I think, having hung out with Angelo in a bunch of different places, one of the things that people really like is people who know how to act like a human being. Like you basically have some etiquette as far as like Angelo's not always on, but if you're paying attention, he's really funny. I think of, a lot of our comedian friends, another comedian from Montreal named Joey Elias.
Fucking hilarious guy. Funny guy.
So I'm telling a story that I've heard through the grapevine. So take it with a grain of salt, but I like to believe it's true. So there's a movie called The Day After Tomorrow, and Joey Elias had a small role in the movie. He was a security guard at the library. But when the cameras were off, he was so funny that they wrote more lines for him, and he ended up with a bigger role because he was so funny off camera. So if you get to sit and have a meal with Angelo and have a drink, and you're like, I want to hang out with this guy more. So I would imagine Angelo and Joey and all these guys who do acting, they get more roles and bigger roles because they're not always like trying to rub elbows with somebody. They're not always on. Like, I mean, Angelo hangs around with the most famous comedians in the world, and it's just Angelo. This is your friend,
No, it's true. With Joey, Lars with Joey, and my brother Mike, who's an actor, we did The Art of War with Wesley Snipes, which was filmed in Montreal.
That's right.
Remember, and Joey played the cook in the diner, and I played undercover cop, and my brother plays a cop. And then Wesley Snipes comes in the diner, and Joey's like, that's it? Blade? You're the Blade?
That's it. I remember.
Joey's funny. And another time, me and Joey did a show in Oshawa. It was a college. And, Joey's about 6'5", 6'4".
Yeah.
But 6'5", he was a bigger guy. He's lost, and I'm about 6 feet tall. And at the time, I'm 450 pounds. And we walked into this college in Durham College. We walked in like Pulp Fiction. And we walked inside, and the girl goes, "Can I help you guys?" I said, "Yeah, we're here for the show." She thought we were coming in to whack somebody. and Joey had an overcoat on. I had an overcoat on, and if you ask Joey the story, he remembers. We walked inside, and they were looking at us like, "What are these guys? Who they come to kill here?"
Oh.
And then we said, "No, we're the comedians." Oh, you're the comedians. Oh shit! She goes, "I was ready to call security on you." So.
I showed a picture to one of my friends because I told him I was having a podcast with you, and I showed a picture when you have a really nice picture. You're smoking a cigar, and you look like a mobster. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I said that to my friend. Yeah, I said that to my buddy, and he's like, "He's a comedian?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I wouldn't joke with that guy." I said, No, he does the joke. You don't need to joke with him."
You don't need to joke. But again, you see, that's the thing. Lars said it. It's you're working with, it's how people look at you. So you be a comedian, but then physically you look like something else, or you sound. I was at Russell. I'm going to drop names here. I was at Russell's house a couple of weeks ago, and D.L. Hewley, Cedric the Entertainer, those guys were there. And when I say DL showed up, and he looked over and he goes, they all sat around. So it was all these famous comedians and actors. And when they sat down, I looked at them. I said, "I'm glad you're all here. Now we got to talk about some family business. How are we going to divide up this town?" And they all started laughing. And DL looked at me like, "You look like the Godfather." I go, "I'm not looking like the Godfather. I am the Godfather."
That's it.
And they laughed.
That's
but they
awesome.
realize it's because I think what happens to us, the first impression is the one you're thinking of right away. Oh, this guy looks like this guy.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like Russell Peter. I would see him in the bar or whatever. I would say, okay, guys, our cab is here. I love Russell. He's such a great guy. You did also a movie with, their name here, John Cho and Cal Penn.
Cal Penn.
With Harold and Kumar. And
Harold and Kumar.
These guys look freaking hilarious. And did you guys smoke a joint together? Come on, I need to know.
No, here's what happened. No, those guys were dicks to me, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, is that right?
Well, yeah, they're nice guys. Here's what happened. That scene we shoot where I freak out in the car behind them, that was shot at the Toronto Zoo.
Oh, is that right?
In Toronto. And we went by. So what happened? We have an earpiece. I'm in a Tahoe, and they're ahead of me. So he throws somebody in the meter, and I'm supposed to hear the line, and I say it. So when we did it, they didn't realize I could hear what they're saying. So he missed his line. I think it was John Cho or Cal Penn missed his line. And then the director, Danny Leaner, said, Cal, you got your line? He goes, no, he goes, I think the fat dude. He called me fat dude. I think the fat dude missed his line. I'm like, okay. So we had to go around again. We're come behind him.
Just like watch it.
And then when they pulled up, I bumped them with the car from behind for purpose. I bumped them. But hey, what are you doing? I go, oh, sorry, the fat dude forgot to press the brakes. I couldn't hear you from all the fat, Malaka. So happened. We did that scene.
That's fucking awesome.
So that's what happened. But that scene, it's funny because in that same year, I did two big movies. I did Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Yeah.
And then I did The Prince and Me with Julia Stiles.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, you had little young girls, 11 to 13 years old, trying to get pictures, and stoners trying to get you high.
Oh God!
So we never smoked. I think I never smoked on set or nothing. But they all smoking and blazing. I used to smoke then too.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I have those two movies, Prince and Me, and Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and they're both
completely different, eh?
So one's smoking, and the other one's gee, you're the prince, I love you, you're the prince, whatever. It's work. It's work.
I would like to hear the history of the Canada Day show.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's what guys. Every you haven't done it yet, right, Lars?
No, I always went to New York. I've only been to LA like twice in all of my years doing comedy.
So,
you guys are too pretty.
I'll say it right now on their podcast. If it happens next year, you got to come and do it. Okay, I want you to come and do it. And in New York, and LA, come and do the
Tell
podcast
everybody the history. It's been forever. Like I like to know when it started.
Thank you, sweetheart.
I love the I mean, it's one of my favorite things to watch. So
here's what happened. About 7-8 years ago, I got this idea because there's a lot of Canadians living in Los Angeles, like over 1 million actually live here. If you can believe it. It's right? The fourth. LA is the fourth largest Canadian city. It goes Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, LA, Ottawa, Edmonton. I think in that order, or Calgary, that in the world. So. I got this idea. I said, why don't we have a Canada birthday show? And we put comedians some from Canada, others from here. And let's just do a show where we hang out, the guys from Canada. No agenda. Just guys from comedians, like the way we used to hang out. So I asked Jeremy Hotz, who's a very good friend of mine. Yeah. Tom Green, Harlan Williams, Russell Peters, Ian Bagg, Lachlan Patterson, all the different. I try to put comics from Jay Malone's to everybody. Deborah the Giovanni's been on it, and we just everybody gets about 6-7 minutes, and they do comedy. But what happened? We started selling out the show in Hollywood at the Comedy Store.
More than expected.
Yeah, and then what happened was industry people started coming to the show. So we were supposed to do it June 28th this year, but because of COVID, everything got canceled. But it's now we're 7th or 8th year of doing it. And I always give an opportunity to young comics out of Canada. So I don't know if you know him, Lars. I can't think of his name right now, but the guy that had we met him in. He's from Calgary. The one that had the heart transplant.
I know exactly which guy you're talking about. Yeah.
What's his name? The guy. Anyway, I met him in when we did the hubcap in Moncton, and the guy had a machine on to help him. Here's a guy. I complain about things. This guy has 2 kids. He has a machine, Carl, that keeps him alive, and he does comedy.
Oh, I love it.
He had a transplant. And this guy was coming down to do. I said, I want you to come and do the show. You're the bravest guy I know doing comedy. Only because this guy, and I got people complaining, my agent didn't call me back, and my girlfriend, hey, asshole, this guy's got a fucking artificial heart. And he's here, he flew down here, so he wanted to bring his friend to say, come and do it.
That's incredible.
So I like, the thing about the show that I do, yes, we have big comic stars on the show, but I also open the door to about 2 or 3 guys that would never get the chance to maybe come to LA or do the Comedy Store. So I try to balance it out. I think it's the right thing to do. And, and we have about 15, 16 comedians every year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I try to put them on. So it's been, and a lot of people, I get a lot of calls for it. And then people kind of realize, why do you do it for? I said, a lot of people, I know a lot of guys that wanted to come and play in LA, and especially at the Comedy Store.
The main room, man.
I mean, the main room, and it's when I put them on. And you have Pete Zedlacker came down. Those guys all come down, and they had so much fun. So it makes me happy. I hope they appreciate it. I think most people do.
Yeah.
But I always put newer comics on to start the show because I want them to have the opportunity.
Yeah,
Well,
that's incredible.
I'll tell you what, Angelo, we got something on my podcast right now. Is you saying that you're going to bring Lars over there one day? So
Yeah.
It needs to happen now.
Lars knows if I say it, I mean it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
If we do it next year, I want him to come down and do a spot. And what's happening? What's happening, guys? Industry people are showing up, and the comedy director of a big agency here in LA said, "I heard about your show, but I never got an invitation." I go, "I don't care if you show up. We're doing the show regardless."
That's awesome.
I told him that. And you know what he said to me? He goes, "Either you're really stupid or you're extremely brilliant." Because now I want to go. I said, look, either you come to the show or you don't come to the show. Doesn't matter. We're doing the show. And then he asked me, how do you get all those comedians together? He goes, because they thought I was trying to film it or set it up as something I was trying to sell. I said, no. First of all, I couldn't pay these guys. You imagine Russell Peters, Jeremy Hotz, Tom Green.
Yeah.
How are you going to pay all those guys on one show? There's no way. They're friends. They're all friends. And Ian Bagg, and they're all awesome comedians.
It's a big party.
I said, they just come and do 5 minutes. It's a party. And the guys know it. We don't sell the material. We don't do nothing. It's just a show. So the one word they don't like in Hollywood is no. You tell them no, guess what happens? They all show up. Well, I don't usually go to these things. If I come down, you put me on, sure. Of course I will. And the guy goes, I wasn't going to go, and then you told me you didn't care if I went to it. I said, I don't care. And I think that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll get him every time. If again, I hardly ever go to LA. Simply, I when I saw all the comics who wanted to be actors, who wanted to get into all that, I just went to New York. But if I were to ever get cast as a role, I think the only person I could ever play in perhaps a biopic is Frank Spadone.
No. Yeah, that's hilarious. You kind of look like Frank.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, can you imagine Frank Spadone not getting cast in his own movie about himself? Oh yeah, we got Lars to play you in this movie.
Lars Callieou as Frank Spadone.
There you
That's
go.
hilarious. Frank's upset these days. His Maple Leafs are doing good. You know what he did to me? We do a thing all week. We do a little thing on Instagram, and he's always wearing the Toronto hat and Leafs jersey. But when Toronto got banged out and Montreal won, I showed up with my Habs jersey, Habs hat. They were so mad at me. And I'm eating a chocolate bar going, hey, what happened to the Leafs? They were so mad at me, you know.
And the Leafs didn't invent getting knocked out in the first round, but they made it fashionable.
Wow, you guys making friends tonight. You guys making a lot of friends tonight,
funny.
that's for sure. Speak of movies, Angelo, do you have anything, any offer on the table for the near future in terms of movies? Or?
You know, no, there was a television series we were supposed to shoot in Toronto with George Stroumboulopoulos
Oh, wow.
called Watching the Detectives, where I play a Greek priest who runs a casino in the basement of the church.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, but what happened, we were supposed to shoot that in May,
Okay.
but
Fucking COVID.
fucking COVID, right? Just, so now we don't know what. There was a few things we had, guys, but now, you know.
It's a matter of time,
know.
Angelo. It's a matter of time. It's going to come back to normal.
We got to go back.
Yeah, it's going to come back. You know, we have the Russian made a great vaccine for us that we all trust.
Yeah, Putin made a vaccine.
Yeah.
A
That's
vaccine, extra cheese.
Guys, there's a short film. Putin made a vaccine.
Oh, there you go. We all trust
Putin
it.
made a vaccine.
Yeah,
SC.
That exactly. We all trust it, absolutely. Well, I mean, Angelo, you know what? Thank you. Before we end here, I got to admit, you know, I'm really honored to have you tonight. Thank you for taking
Thanks for having
time
me
with
on
us.
your show. Happy to do it, Carl. Yeah, it's great.
Exactly. Thank you, Lars, for being there. You're a great guy. I did a podcast before with Lars, amazing guy. He knows a lot. He's
Super
a
guy.
Bible. He's a Bible of comedian. I'm telling you.
And I hope Lars will come do the Canada show next year. And everything is my handle's Angelo Tsarouchas or Big Ange Comic for anybody listening. And let me know where this is going to be, guys, so I can put it on social media also. To let people know.
Absolutely. You know what, Angelo? We're gonna link you all your Facebook, everything to the podcast. Same thing for Lars as usual. And guys, thank you very much. And I would like to thank all the people that listen to us. Thank you, Malakas from Angelo.
Thanks, Malakas.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Hey guys, if you like what you heard, please give us 5 stars on your podcast platform, and also make sure to subscribe to the podcast for other shows like this. And we'll be glad to hear from you guys on our website, on our social media accounts. So don't be shy. Hit us with your comments and everything. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.